Hello, my friends. Happy Friday. Welcome to episode 229 of Why Did I Buy This? This is a series for people who want to know more about craft supplies and how to use them and have techniques associated with them. It's a great way to make the most of your collection and also add to your collection with the things that you know that you will love. My name is Lindsay Mann. I am from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And I just actually got back last night from a trip across Canada in the car, which if you haven't seen a map of Canada, she's large. So my daughter was in Newfoundland and she has a job starting on the West Coast. And so she needed to bring her car across Canada. So she called me up and I jumped on a plane the next day. And we started in Ottawa and drove all across Ontario, Manitoba, and into Saskatchewan. And we drove about 35 hours in 4 days. So about 3,000 kilometers. It was pretty epic. But it was so much fun to get to spend time with my daughter. My kids are grown and don't live at home anymore. So, you know, when they say, hey, let's spend 4 days together in a car. Yeah, I'm going to do it. So it was really, really fun. I really loved it. And it was my first time driving through Ontario. So I got to see lots of the Canadian wilderness, which was great. So yeah, I don't know if any of you have taken that trip before, but in the winter specifically, it adds a new level of spice because we did have some pretty snowy weather to drive through. Luckily, the roads were pretty good, but yeah, we had like storms almost every day, except for the last day, I think. So that made it for kind of an epic time. But yeah, we got safely to Saskatoon, and then I left my daughter there with her friend for a few days, and she'll make her way to Edmonton on her own. But yeah, it was a great time. So I'm catching up today, but I did want to get together for Why Did I Buy This? Because I have a lot of things to share with you. We have a new catalog that just came out. I'm going to show you the cover here. So we have a mini catalog that just came out, and we also have new online exclusives. And so it's a great time to get to play with new products. So I wanted to show you some things. But before I switch you around, I just wanted to remind you that we have bonus days on. So bonus days is until February 2nd. You can earn your bonus coupons. These are coupons that you are going to be able to redeem in February. And with every $60 Canadian that you purchase, you are going to get a $6 coupon. Now, the thing to keep in mind is with Stampin' Rewards, you are going to get to double dip in January. So your Stampin' Rewards earns 10% of whatever you purchase over $25. And then your bonus coupons, with every $60, you're getting an additional 10%. So that's $6, $12, $18, and so on. So now's a great time to place an order. What are you waiting for? You're waiting for me to tell you what to buy. I got you. Okay, we have some really fun projects today. I'm super excited to show you. So let me do the awkward transition so you can see my hands, and then we're going to get going. While I'm doing this, please comment and say hello. Let me know where you're tuning in from. It's always fun to get to chat live with my pals. And now's a good time to share this video with friends if you have people you think would enjoy watching it. Okay, so in our new mini catalog, I've just brought you to the Lovely and Beautiful Sweet collection. And the product that we're going to be using is called Beautifully Adorned Ephemera Pack. So this is vellum, and it's printed with gold embossing. It's really, really beautiful. And I'll show you a little bit about it here in a second, but you get 6 sheets, so 2 of each design, and they're all pre-cut, so that makes it really, really easy to work with. So I have here 3 of the 6 sheets. Let me show you. And I don't know if you noticed this. Oh, I just did it real fast. The stamp cases are very easy to store these kinds of ephemera packs. So this is a great way so that when you've got loose pieces, you don't want things to get wrinkled or lost, you just throw them in there, and then I just store them all together in a little box. So very, very fun. Okay, so you have this design with some tags. You've got some flowers and some leaves and some labels. You have more labels over here. You've got solid as well as you've got some open, and then you have some oval frames that you can work with and some of the little textured pieces. So really, really pretty to work with. The other thing I wanted to share with you is I'm using exclusively the Splash of Sparkles Specialty Designer Series paper. This is an online exclusive and it is just so beautiful. So let me show you the specialty side first. So you can see you have these swashes of color with the gold. You've got some pink pirouette, or pretty in pink, I think this one is, with silver. They're kind of holographic, actually. You've got purple and pink with more holographic silver. I love this one here, balmy blue with the pink. This is so bright and happy with the gold. And then you have these amazing little paint splotches with the gold splatter. So when I turn it over, let me show you what this looks like, the other sides. Here you've got these circles in the different color. I love these because they're easy to work with as a focal point on your card. You've got stripes, you've got bubble bath, and then you've got this beauty, and I'm gonna show you how to use those here in a minute. And then we've got tangerine in the sort of watercolor look. Okay, so I wanted to start with using your paper with your little embellishments there. And this one here has like these beautiful watercolor swatches that are already added. You can see this is what the other side looks like. We're going to bring that in and use that as a background for a card. I wanted to do some embossing on it, so I'm going to bring in the stamp set Beautifully Created. So you can see here it is sold as a bundle. You get yourself a 10% discount when you buy the two things together with one item code. You'll find those in the catalog. And I love this one because it comes with these frames. We're going to use those quite a bit today. So this is such a nice little stamp set to play with. Okay, so we're using Simply the Best, and I'm going to do some heat embossing. So I've brought in my Versamark ink pad. This is just a nice way to be able to make the gold come together with your background. So I'm going to start with that, and we're going to bring in our gold embossing powder. How many of you love embossing? It does tend to be a fan favorite. So sprinkle on our embossing powder, and you know that you can't just leave it on there because once the ink dries, it's going to fall off. So we need to bring in our heat tool and do some heat embossing. So we can go ahead and emboss that. And it's going to get that nice shiny gold. You can see it's starting to change as it melts. And what a beautiful look that is. So already we have such a nice, simple card because our designer series paper is doing the work on it. Now, I also wanted to create sort of deliberate splatters. So I just have here a little tray, and I've added in some white ink. The white ink is very thick, and it's really good for embossing. It's a pigment ink. And I'm bringing in a blender pen, and I'm just going to dip that into the white, and I'm going to add just little dots all around. And this is going to help us have deliberate splatters. You're not going crazy, you know, where you can't control it. Some people don't like that at all. I'm just scribbling off on the edge of my paper here until the white no longer is in my blender brush. Okay, so now I'm going to bring back in that gold embossing powder, and we're just going to make them little gold splatters. So this is a way you can have embossed splatter, and you can control where it is. So we're going to emboss that as well. So you can see it's starting to change and get shiny. So now we have that little bit of extra background texture that's going to match with our little ephemera pack. So I'm going to use one of these flowers as a, hello Kathy, as a focal point on the card, and we're going to bring in leaves as well. So we've got the outline leaves, that we can play with. And now let's bring that back in, and we're going to create the background. Now I really like to use, I like to be careful with vellum, because vellum can be see-through, right? You've got that that opacity that you can see through it. But this vellum is extra thick. It's thicker than our 12 by 12 vellum. And so you can kind of get away with a lot more than normal. This one here has printing all over it, so you're not going to be able to see through it. So already we know that we're going to be able to put our glue wherever we want. So I want to add some leaves here and maybe some leaves here. It's kind of like that. So I'm just going to remember where that was and add a little bit of glue. And now we can stick that on like that. And we'll do another one down here. Okay. And so, I kind of was a little, there we go, like that. So now we're going to throw on some dimensionals. And this is going to be how we hold it onto our card. And again, because we've got this gold flower, we're not having to be very particular about where those go. We're going to just let that hide our adhesive. So this is going to go on just like that. And you can see we've got our little gold in the background. So pretty, right? Oh, you love that. Good. Okay, so now we are going to create our card base. And I'm seeing I cut this wrong. So this is cut at 4 1/4, and I should have cut it to 8 1/2, but I left it at 2 11. So let me just cut that back to 4 1/4. There we go. So now this is going to go on like so. And once you have that adhered, you're going to have that. So because there's 12 different backgrounds here, and they're all different colors, you can kind of like work within that color and then be able to use those as the background. But because we've got gold, you can just change the background color of your cardstock and be able to make these little floral cards. Isn't that a cute, simple card? Okay, so that's project number 1. Let me show you project number 2. So this one here, we're going to do some work with our ephemera. So I really loved this one here. It reminded me of stained glass. And there is a technique with vellum that's called stained glass. However, what I learned is because this is such a thick vellum, normally we color on the back side of the vellum, but it really doesn't show through with a lot of saturation. So I found it better to just color on the front. So I'm gonna bring in some blends. I have here pumpkin pie, and you can go a little darker than your backgrounds because the vellum is going to absorb some of that color. So we're just going ahead and adding on vellum, or our blends to our vellum. So we're just going, and you can go right over the gold. It's, as long as you're not using a really dark color, it's gonna show through. Okay, so now we've got our colored flower, and then we can bring in mossy meadow. We're gonna do the leaves here. And the stem. Just like that. So now you can see we've created that stained glass look with that piece. Okay, so let's go ahead and create our card. The first thing I wanted to do was create a textured background. And with all of this gold, it just really makes it feel rich to have a lot of texture. So I'm bringing in our lemon lolly, and I've gone ahead and used this new embossing folder called All in a Row, and it has kind of a patchwork effect to it. So I also wanted to add a little bit of splatter. This time I'm going to do it in a traditional way. So I'm going to bring in my water painter, and I've just gone ahead and taken that white craft ink and squeezed a little bit of water in with it. And we're going to take our brush and tap it onto our background. And now we can bring that gold back in and sprinkle it over. And it's gonna grab where we put our splatter down. So now we can heat that up with our heat tool. And we're gonna get that gold embossed splatter. There we go, starting to change. Because there's water mixed in with it, it does take a little bit longer to emboss. So don't be alarmed if it's not embossing as quickly as you normally would expect. There we go. Beautiful. So now we have this gold splatter in the background just to keep adding depth to our project. Now I went ahead and used those labels from the Beautifully Celebrated dies, and I cut out 2 pieces of cardstock. So here you can see it's from the same sheet of paper. This I just used a smaller label to be able to create that. So we're going to go ahead and add those together. I have here my dimensionals to bring some of that lift into it. And we're going to do that like so. And then here, you're going to use the coloring on your ephemera to be able to hide your dimensional. Oh yeah, Carol, you can. Yeah, I'm happy you're watching. You're learning something today. Okay, so where that flower is, that's going to hide our dimensional. And then we're going to add a little bit of glue where the frame is so that we can kind of hide that. And I'm adding 2 different heights of adhesive because we're going to put one side here and one side over here. So this is going to stamp on it like that. Okay. Now, I noticed that I just did this out of order, so let's see if I can correct my mistake. When you're wanting to stamp onto this vellum, you're going to need to use a StazOn ink. So this is a solvent-based ink, and this is going to help it stay because it's got that plastic in the vellum. It's not a cardstock that absorbs ink well, so you need to have one that's going to sit on top. So I'm using from this stamp set, I love this stamp set, Banner Sayings with the die. I'm using the Celebrate, so it's a nice little stamp, and let's see if I can correct what I've done here. We're just going to stamp that. Nice. Okay, perfect. No harm, no foul. You want to make sure you hold on to this lid so that your ink doesn't dry out, and then we can put that back. Now, you don't want to leave that sitting on your photopolymer, so you can use a StazOn cleaner, and you're just going to add cleaner to the stamp, and then I just quickly wipe it off. So it just helps so that you're not going to run into trouble with the solvent in the ink interacting with the photopolymer. All right, now we can go ahead and start assembling our card. So I've brought in just a little extra strip that is from the leftover from that New Designer Series paper. And so with the ends of the cardstock, you're going to make a snip in the middle, and then from each of the corners, you're going to bring that in, and that's going to give you this little piece of embellishment with your paper, because you can like layer that on like so. And then with the crumb cake embellishments, I just think that they kind of resemble gold enough that you can add them to your project and have it work with the gold in a way that is very, very pretty. Okay, so we're gonna assemble the card, and let me show you what the finished one looks like. I threw on some of the gold and white baker's twine. Here you can see our beautiful splatter. There you can see the greeting that's been stamped on the vellum and all the coloring that we've done. Isn't that pretty? Okay, we're gonna move on to the PYP card. So this one here is going to do a fun technique with these ephemera. So I'm going to pull out one of the outline flowers, and I'm going to bring in Flirty Flamingo. This is the dark Flirty Flamingo. Again, it's not going to show up as dark as the marker is. So if I like do this swipe, you can see it looks really dark. But when I color it onto here, it's going to, when it dries, it's not going to have that same look. And I'm just going to color the whole flower. There's a technique to this in a minute that's going to change how it looks. So don't worry about it being exactly perfect. So just adding that ink all the way around, just like so. And then I'm going to bring in rubbing alcohol, and I'm just going to give it a spritz. So now the alcohol interacts with the alcohol. You can see it's starting to bubble up like that, and it creates its own watercolor effect on the flower. It is such a neat way to be able to play with the ink, and you don't have to worry about it looking exact because it's just going to do its own thing as it interacts with the alcohol. So we'll set that aside while we make the rest of our card. So here I've got some of the pieces that we're going to need to assemble this card. So this is just 4 1/4 by 11, and I have cut off 1.5 inches. So we're going to create a little pocket that's going to sit on the end. And this is going to be, wow, that looks so beautiful. It's almost a shame to cover it up. We're going to add our adhesive. Do you ever have that where you're like, but I don't want to cover up one? The solution, buy 2 packs. Okay, so we've got our little strip covered. And then with our glue, we're going to add glue along the here and along the bottom and along the side. And then this is going to flip over, and we're just going to add that to the end of the card. So just slide it into place like that. And so that's created a little pocket for us. Now I want an element that's going to go on the front. And so what I did was brought in this new embossing embossing folder called Stone and Vines. You can see it looks like a stone wall with the vines kind of growing through it. And what I love embossing is the gold foil paper. Oh, it just looks so elegant. So this is going to be our background piece that we're going to layer on here. And so we want to sort of pay attention to where we want it to sit, and we don't want the glue to go on that part of it. So I'm just going to start with the glue here and go all the way around like that. And then we are going to put our fingers here so we know it's not going to have glue on it. And then we can slide that into place like that. So that's going to create our little focal point. And then we're going to use these nesting labels here to be able to stick that in place. So with our dimensionals, we're going to add, yeah, that's just so pretty, isn't it? Oh, I want to see what you all make with it. Okay, so we're going to stick this in place like so. And what I loved about this paper is it kind of mirrors what we've done with the alcohol here. Right? So it's got that same look of like ink puddling. Now this is going to go on top of here with our dimensionals. Like so. And then we will add our flower on top. Now here again, we've got a little area that we can disguise where our dimensional is. Because of the texture and because of the thickness, I think you probably could get away with it almost anywhere, but I just am being a little cautious. So I'm putting it right where the stamen is on the flower. And we're going to stick that on just like so. And I also have another piece from the ephemera I wanted to use. Again, this is a PYP card, so we're adding lots of texture to it. And we're going to use this little piece here. So, slide get this out of the way. So this is going to come and just sit at the corner of where we've added that. So with the little dots here, we can add little dots of glue. Again, that's going to hide where our adhesive sits. Flip that over. And we can kind of pay attention to, there we go, just like that. Now there's a really pretty stamp that mirrors that look in with the Beautifully Celebrated. So we can bring in our coordinating ink. I've got Bubble Bath here. So we're gonna stick some texture in the back corner here, right? And then we can bring in Smoky Slate, which coordinates with our background paper. I'll just clean my stamp, and then we're going to add a little bit up here, and we can bring this down and just add a smidge down here. And so now we have that look. And once again, I can't get enough of my banner sayings with its triple banner punch. So I'm gonna bring in Happy Birthday. I always need birthday cards. So I'm just bringing in a strip of paper that I cut off from something else, and I'll use my memento this time. And we're going to stamp Happy Birthday. And then with the triple banner punch, we're going to cut that out. So just slide it in until you get the spot you want it punched out. Make sure it's not crooked. And there we've got our punched image. So this is just going to slide in here. And again, you can see it a little bit, but that's okay. It's not really obvious. So we're just gonna add one dimensional here and then tuck that just like so. Now there's tons of cute little embellishment pieces in the ephemera pack, so you can use those the way that you would use sequins or any of our little pieces. So I've got a couple that are here, and we're going to add those to the card. So I'm going to add one here and then one up here. And look at that. Isn't that pretty? So I just, I'll show you the one that I finished prior. So it's a little bit lighter in the alcohol. Again, everyone's going to be different. But what I love is that you can just throw in that gift card here and then write your greeting. And it's a nice way to be able to make a special card for somebody. So again, I can't say enough good things about these beautifully adorned ephemera packs, as well as that gorgeous new paper. Let me tell you the name one more time. It's called Splash of Sparkles 12 by 12. So I've got this little cutie, I've got this little cutie with the splatter, and this one with the deliberate splatter. So lots and lots of techniques for you today. I couldn't not share those with you, because how much fun is that to make when you're thinking about a friend that you'd like to give a card to. So if you'd like to shop and be able to earn those bonus days coupons, now's the time to do it. Head to my online store. You can find me at cloud9stampers.com, and there's links to my online store there, and you'll be able to shop away anywhere in Canada. It's shipped directly to you, and it's such a great way to be able to get those things off your wish list while you're getting extra bonus day coupons. Okay, my friends, have an amazing weekend. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Why Did I Buy This? Remember that if you'd like more of Why Did I Buy This, you can join my VIP club. I've collaborated with Meg Loven of Loven Stamps, and we have the Why Did I Buy This Maker Club. It is so much fun. It's a private group. You get little maker kits in the mail with curated selection of products, and we show you many, many, many different techniques. It's an hour-long episode that you get to join in live or watch the replay. So I'd love for you to take part. I'll make sure to throw the link for that in the comments. Okay, friends, have a great day. Bye for now.